My name is Kathy Monaco, and this is my introduction to a 4-part series of no GPS, no Google Maps, no problem. Behind me is the beautiful calm of Long Island Sound, the ocean, the journey for fishermen and travelers. I live here in Lordship and am very blessed to enjoy the peace and tranquility that God gives me every day as a parishioner of Our Lady of Peace Church. In the early 1900s, my grandparents took a long journey across the waters through Ellis Island in a search for freedom and a better life. They both came independently from Czechoslovakia, the Moravian region. They were raised in strong religious families and farming villages, but journeyed to the United States via Ellis Island, looking for a better life in America. Moravia, now part of the Czech Republic, formerly Czechoslovakia, has had a history of political strife. My grandparents had the courage to travel to the United States to escape poverty and political unrest with just one suitcase. My grandmother would say, I had 50 cents in my pocket and I owed Tetka, that was her sister, $50 for my board on the ship to the USA. My grandmother, Anna Matoha, of the village Pitin, Moravia, married Martin Kromek of the village Horní Lidec, Moravia, in 1910 and settled in Derby, Connecticut. They were devout Catholics, married in St. Michael's Church in Derby. They worked tirelessly, day and night, to earn a living. My grandfather working 3 jobs in sweatshops, and my grandmother cleaning houses and taking in ironing jobs from neighbors. And since my sister and I lived with them along with my hardworking mom, I saw firsthand their courage, inspiration, and hard work. They wanted a better life for their children and grandchildren. Never did they dwell on their past, but emphasized our roots and our Catholic faith. Moravia, they said, was beautiful, with hardworking farmers and tremendous religious faith, culture, and history. My grandfather had traveled through Eastern Europe and Germany, often citing the problems of unrest and uncertainty in a totalitarian government. They both had gratitude for religious freedom and the independence of the USA. I'm sharing my story so that this is not lost, and I think very timely given the situation in Ukraine. Ukraine is just 718 airline miles from the Czech Republic. It is my sincere hope that these stories are preserved. It is a gift and blessing that keeps on giving. You will see in my travels and journey across the world, everyone has a story. I encourage you to tell your story.
Hi, I'm Peggy, Kathy's sister, as she mentioned before. And Kathy will now talk about our family in the Czech Republic, as well as our family here in the U.S. and how this all evolved into a wonderful depiction of our history of our family and religion.
Yes, so according to Luke, hard work for life is more than food and body, more than clothes. Seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you. Anna Mataha Kromek, my grandmother, came from Pitin in Moravia, where I have maintained contact with my cousins and have celebrated over the years. Chislo 52, her birthplace, is now home of my cousins, and across the street is birthplace of Joseph Karl Matoha, now being canonized for sainthood. My grandmother was a very tough woman who prayed the rosary incessantly. She knew the challenges of the demons she escaped. In 1935, then married to Martin, with 4 children, now courageously left for Peking via the ship Bremen to visit her ailing mother and say goodbye. She was gone for a few months and returned. My Aunt Rosalie babysat for twins, Mary, my mother, and Martin during that time. My grandmother returned to the United States to resume her duties as mother and wife. All her life, she supported her family and me as a grandchild in a life of prayer, especially the rosary. She cleaned houses without complaint, took in ironing, grew everything in the family garden and trees. She could make a meal out of nothing. She canned so we had food in the winter. She always said, "Work hard and stay with God." She and my grandfather raised 4 children through college, had a house and 11 grandchildren. She would always say to me, "Someday you appreciate me." Thanks, Grandma. I really do appreciate you.
Kathy will now talk about our cousin, Archbishop Joseph Karl Matoha, who will demonstrate how important it was for religion and for maintaining a very strong diocese throughout the Czech Republic in my relative's village of Peking, Czech Republic.
The Gospel according to Matthew. Blessed are you when they persecute you. I praise you, Lord, for you raised me up and did not let my enemies rejoice over me. Archbishop Joseph Karl Matoha was born May 14, 1888, in Peking, first cousin to my grandmother, Anna Matoha Kromek. He studied philosophy and theology in Olomouc, and then at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome. After acquiring the theological doctorate, he completed his habilitation and taught Christian philosophy and dogmatics from 1931 to 1939 and 1945 to 1948 at the Olomouc Theological Faculty, of which he was dean twice. Pope Pius XII appointed him to the Archbishop of Olomouc in 1948. The then Archbishop of Prague and later Cardinal Joseph Barron appointed him the episcopal ordination on May 2, 1948. Joseph Karl Matoha was unable to hold the office of Archbishop for long because he was interned by communist rulers in 1950 and was then imprisoned and isolated in his apartment. He was in isolation and unable to read a newspaper or listen to a radio. After his death in 1961, the communist authorities prevented the appointment of a successor. I am proud to say I have visited his home in Peking and his archbishop in Olomouc, where he is being canonized for sainthood. He was persecuted for his religion. Talk about faith, courage, and perseverance. The Gospel according to John, the power of a story. Through John the Apostle, the Holy Spirit transforms the lives who read John's Gospel. There is power in a story. So, understanding the significance of my roots, my sister and I decided to take my mother to Peking and Horní Lídec in celebration of her 60th birthday. I had no idea what I was facing when we took the limousine from New Haven, Connecticut to JFK en route to Vienna, Austria. We had reservations in Vienna at Hotel Capricorno on the Danube River. Vienna is beautiful, and we enjoyed every minute, the culture being very Western and modern. We had arrangements to take a bus to Bratislava, Czechoslovakia, since that's what the Polish travel agency had suggested, which is 56 minutes away from Vienna. At the Czech border, the bus was stopped by communist guards who detained us and searched our persons and bags. When we arrived in Bratislava, we quickly realized that we were on the Slovak side and needed to get to the Czech side in Brno, another hour and 25 minutes. We took a cab from Bratislava to Brno. We checked into a very modest hotel in Brno. With communism, you had to leave your passport and visa with the receptionist, who were very cold because we were from America. Thank God my mother was very fluent in Czech, and I could understand it. Brno is filled with history and bookstores. We finally found one detailed map. Quickly, we sat down at a local park and were able to find Petin and Horní Lidec. With shouts of screaming and joy, my mother said, "We have to go." The rest is another story. The Gospel according to Mark. Courage, it's me. Don't be afraid. As soon as he climbed in the boat, the wind died down. So here I am in a communist country trying to rent a car so that my mother and I can drive to Petin with that one detailed map. Me, the only driver, a mother who did not drive in an unknown terrain. It took several hours to rent a Peugeot, and off we went through the most beautiful agrarian countryside of Moravia. There were very few Skodas, the Czech car, and many horses and carriages on dirt roads. There were no signs, gas stations, or stores. Every village was adorned with statues of the Blessed Mother and the cross of Jesus. But signs of Karl Marx and communism prevailed. Our saving grace was the assistance of migrant farmers, men and women, pointing us to the village of Petin. Sometimes the women would jump in the car uninvited to assist with directions in Czech. Again, thank God for my mother and her knowledge of Czech. After several hours, we reached Petin, a small handwritten sign. Parked in the middle of the street, my mother jumped out asking in Czech if they knew Matoha, Kromik, or Shashinka. That was the beginning of my relationship with my cousins, the church in Petin, Olamuts, and the birth of my grandmother and beloved Archbishop Joseph Karl Matoha, now being canonized for sainthood. Pray for peace. God bless. And please tell us your story. Thank you.